Please take a gentle moment right now to slow down and breathe easily. Set aside all the noise in your mind for just a short time. Gently turn your focus inward to what you have truly been feeling deep beneath everything else. You may have noticed a sensation lately that is difficult to describe in simple words. There is a sudden tightness that comes into your chest without any warning at all. A memory of a certain person appears out of nowhere in your mind. There is also a restless, electric kind of feeling that hums quietly just below the surface of your usual daily routine. That feeling is not random, and it is not only in your imagination. It serves as a clear and steady signal. Energy is flowing toward you at this very time, and your deeper soul is noticing it even before your thoughts have time to understand fully. Your inner self works on a level that goes much deeper than any everyday talk or written message. It picks up details that move faster than anything happening on the outside. This is exactly why you can feel that something is changing with this person before there is any clear sign of it in reality. That soft pull inside your chest, the one you often brush off as simple wishful thinking, is actually your inner guide letting you know something important. It is letting you know that this connection still has important parts left to experience. If you have been feeling that sudden tightness in your chest or a pull towards someone, recognize it now. This is usually how such deep things happen. Just before a big change appears in the outside world, a quiet pressure starts to build up within you. It feels like an energetic tension that you notice without being able to explain it completely. That is precisely the situation you are in at this moment. Small openings are forming in what used to be complete silence between you. New paths are starting to show where there once seemed to be only solid walls. Your place in this person's life has not disappeared the way you might have worried it did. While you were dealing with your own questions and living with uncertainty, something was quietly changing inside them. The protective walls they had built around their heart from fear, pride, and the desire to stay in control have been slowly breaking down. The strong feeling you have been sensing lately is there, because they are now holding emotions they can no longer hide away. The real truth is rising to the surface, whether they feel ready for it or not. The bond you share goes far beyond ordinary thinking. It is not something that distance or time can simply remove by itself. To truly understand why this change is happening now and why the coming days will feel clearly different, it helps to consider what this person has actually been going through. In the quiet time between you, they have been moving with extreme care, keeping some space while still observing you from the background. They were caught between their own uncomfortable fears and a strong pull toward you that they tried very hard to deny existed. You may have been sensing their energy lately, even without any direct contact. During the period apart, they filled their days with activities that seemed okay from the outside. They looked calm and in charge, like someone who had simply moved on and found a new routine. But that look was only a cover. It was a mask they used even for themselves, so they could continue believing that pulling back was the correct decision. As more time went by, that mask became much heavier for them to carry. Underneath it, a silent inner struggle was taking place that nobody around them could see. Night after night, they struggled with their true emotions. They used reason to explain the distance and told themselves it was the safer and wiser path to follow. Some of this came from pride, some from fear, and some from not knowing how to handle feelings that felt too large to manage easily. That situation happens more often than most people understand. Sometimes a person steps away not because they feel nothing, but exactly because they feel too deeply. Being truly seen by someone else can feel upsetting at first. It can bring up worries about losing control or about getting hurt again. But when two people are truly meant to connect on a deeper level, all the reasoning in the world eventually loses its strength. Slowly, the protective walls they had created around themselves started to become weaker. As that happened, they began to notice that life without you felt less bright. It felt like it was missing something important they could not easily name or replace. A fresh awareness started to grow inside them. They realized that the guarded and controlled version of themselves they had been showing was not their real self. It was only a part they had been playing, and it no longer suited them. Every try they made to move further ahead and create more space between you was quietly stopped by something that kept bringing their thoughts back. It was not just missing a person in the usual way, but something that touched their deepest sense of who they are. It became a turning moment for them, something like a personal awakening. There were times when they tried to cover those feelings by staying very busy with noise, people, and different distractions. But even then, comparisons kept coming in. Thoughts they would never speak out loud continued to drift back toward you. All of this was building up quietly under the surface and leading to the change you are now starting to sense. Something is shifting, and this time it does not have the same easy ways out that the old distractions once gave. A person can only remain in avoidance for so long before their deeper self becomes completely tired from the effort. And that is exactly where this person is right now. The life they built to hold their true feelings away is no longer giving them the same numbness it once did. They had told themselves that enough space would weaken the connection. They thought that enough quiet would slowly reduce the strength of what they felt, and that enough time would gently remove your presence from their emotional world. But the exact opposite took place. The longer the separation lasted, the clearer their feelings became. Instead of growing weaker, you became more present in their thoughts. They started noticing you in the small, empty spaces they had not expected, in the quiet time before sleep, and in talks that suddenly felt empty. Your intuition may be telling you that something is shifting with them. In busy places where they still felt completely alone, even with noise and activity around them, something kept directing their attention back to you. That is when a deeper understanding started to grow roots. They began to see that what they shared with you was not an ordinary link or short excitement. It was something that had reached parts of them that nobody else had ever touched. Once that understanding came, it changed how they saw everything around them. Because once you realize a bond is truly special, you cannot return to treating it as if it is not. Their thoughts may still try to argue against it, but the heart starts to speak with a strength that ordinary logic cannot overcome. There have been nights when they sat by themselves and remembered conversations you may have stopped thinking about long ago. Small moments that once seemed nothing special now carry great meaning in their memory. The way you looked at them during a hard time, the calm your presence brought without any effort, and the special ease of being with someone you do not have to pretend for. That kind of emotional safety is truly rare. The empty space it leaves behind is not something you can easily fill with other things. They have been trying to fill it, and it has not worked. The more they looked for it in other places, the more clearly they understood what was really there between you. At first, pride told them they could move ahead without any problem, and that they were stronger than the feeling. But pride always reaches a limit, and it eventually meets the reality of true emotional truth. For this person, that limit has now arrived. They have started to see the connection in a new way. It is no longer something they think they can simply choose or replace whenever they want. They are beginning to realize that meeting you changed something in them forever. It is not something they can just decide to undo. While all of this has been happening inside them, something has also been changing inside you. Even if you still think about this person often and wonder what might happen next, you are not in the same emotional place you were before. Something inside you has become stronger and calmer through all of this. You have learned what it really feels like to reach towards someone who is not meeting you in the middle. You felt the tiredness of carrying most of the emotional weight by yourself. Slowly, through the confusion and the long, quiet periods, you started bringing your own energy back inside. That change is more meaningful than it may appear. Because when you stopped stretching yourself too far and stopped being always available in the hope that it would finally be enough, Everything in the energy between you transformed. There was a time when your feelings were mostly pointed outward toward this person. How you felt each day depended on whether they replied, whether they appeared, or whether they noticed you. But at some point, you became truly tired of that pattern, not in a loud, dramatic way, but because your inner self understood that your own peace had real value. You gently turned your energy back toward yourself. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally began caring for yourself with the same steady attention. This internal shift has altered the dynamic completely. When you withdrew your constant outreach, it created a void that they could instantly feel. The absence of your active energy forced them to face the reality of the silence. It made them realize that you were no longer waiting in the background, anchoring them while they tried to figure things out. Now, they are experiencing the weight of their choices. The space that once felt like a safety zone now feels like a profound loss. They are realizing that your patience was not infinite, and that your love, while deep, requires respect and reciprocity. As the days move forward, you will notice this shift becoming more obvious. The tension under the surface is building toward a moment of clarity. You do not need to force anything or try to figure out the exact timing. Your only task right now is to remain grounded in the peace you have built for yourself. Trust that the truth of this connection is unfolding exactly as it should. Your inner guidance has been right all along, and the changes you are sensing are real. Stay in your strength, breathe easily, and allow the energy to move naturally without rushing the outcome. That decision created a big energetic change. When someone is always sending their focus outward, their presence can start to feel like something in the background that others take for granted. You can fully believe that they are starting to feel exactly what they lost. But when that energy quietly turns inward and becomes calm, the lack of it becomes completely impossible to overlook. That is exactly what this person is noticing right now. They are feeling your distance in a completely new way because your energy no longer carries the same urgency or need for their attention. Instead of making the connection feel weaker, it has pushed them to face honestly what they have actually been missing. This is why they have become more restless lately. Some part of them senses that you are growing. The version of you who waited and tried hard and made themselves smaller is turning into something entirely different. That realization brings a real sense of urgency because time suddenly feels like it might not last forever. People often cannot see the true value of something until they have spent enough time living without it. This person is now sitting with the full weight of every moment they waited too long. They are feeling every emotion they pushed away, and every single time fear guided their choice. For the first time, they cannot easily avoid that truth. Sometimes separation is not what ends a bond, but what makes it clearer. Distance has a way of showing emotional patterns that cannot be ignored. It reveals where fear lives inside a person and where someone has been losing themselves while searching for love. It also shows clearly what each person is like when they stand completely alone. This time apart changed both of you, but in very different ways. It helped you find your own value again, without needing their approval to confirm it. It gave them the raw experience of moving through life without your special energy present. That is why what you are feeling now carries so much meaning. Things that were hidden under avoidance are now coming up to the surface. This person is starting to understand that they do not just miss your attention. They miss your energy, your emotional depth, and the special way they felt when they were around you. They miss the deep sense of being truly understood without needing to explain everything. That realization has grown strong enough that they can no longer set it aside easily. What they are experiencing is not just a short mood or a few difficult nights. It has become something steady that moves through their daily life, whether they deal with it or try to push it away. There are times when they are doing something completely normal, and a memory of you suddenly takes their full attention. A sound, a smell, a certain word, or a particular time of day all begin to carry traces of you. At first, these moments made them uneasy because they wanted to believe they had complete control over their inner thoughts. They wanted to decide exactly when you entered their mind and when you did not. But deep emotional truth does not follow such rules. The stronger the bond, the more naturally it appears by itself. They are now reaching the point where fighting the connection takes more effort than it returns. The walls they built for safety have started to feel more like isolation than protection. The silence they once thought was needed has begun to feel heavy and difficult. It has pushed them into real thinking. From that place, they are looking back at things with completely fresh eyes. They are remembering times when you tried to understand them while they remained closed off. They recall moments when you showed patience they never fully appreciated. Those memories now carry a totally different meaning because they can finally see what was truly being given to them. Real love can feel ordinary when it is there every day. You do not always notice its special quality until it is no longer present. This person is now seeing how rare what you offered truly was. The honesty, the depth, the steadiness, and the comfort of being with someone who allowed them to be themselves. They have looked for pieces of that feeling in other places and found absolutely nothing each time. That only makes your importance clearer to them. There were nights when they tried hard to move on completely, only to have their thoughts return to you before the night was over. You may feel like your inner compass is pointing you toward these strong signs from the universe about this person. There were moments when they tried to cut the emotional connection and felt an even stronger pull right after. Every single try to escape the bond only made them more aware of it instead of less. This happens because what existed between you was never just on the surface level. Something inside them truly saw something real inside you. That kind of deep seeing does not simply vanish because someone decides it should. That change in understanding has altered your energy in a basic way. Whether they can say it out loud or not, they feel the difference. They sense that you are no longer following them emotionally the way you once did. They notice that you have become more settled inside yourself, less worried, and less dependent on their replies for your own balance. Strangely, that is exactly what has made their awareness of you grow stronger than before. When someone stops forcing love and returns to themselves, their energy takes on a new quality. You became calm. In that calm, they were finally left alone with the full strength of their own feelings, without the distraction of your earlier urgency to hide behind. Their thoughts keep coming back to this connection. Their emotions will not let them stay comfortably away from the truth any longer. The truth is becoming impossible to deny now. You matter to them not in a light or casual way, but in a way that has truly changed how they experience closeness. That kind of realization feels unsettling for someone who has tried to stay in control for a long time. Because once you fully accept how much someone means to you, you also have to accept the reality of being open, of taking risks, and of the chance of getting hurt. Fear has guided their choices for quite some time. Fear of being hurt, fear of losing control, and fear of being fully seen and then left alone. But fear eventually reaches its limit. The weight of avoiding the truth becomes heavier than the weight of simply being honest. That is the stage they are slowly but clearly moving toward now. The silence between you has stopped being empty for them. It has become emotionally loud. Every day they stay disconnected, the awareness inside them grows more demanding. Every try to push the feeling down creates more pressure instead of relief. This is why the energetic changes you have been feeling lately have been so strong. Something inside them is truly preparing for a real change. It is not something forced, but a genuine emotional understanding that quietly changes how a person sees their whole life. They are beginning to know that losing you would not just mean losing another person. It would mean losing a part of themselves they only found through this special bond. That kind of understanding changes people in deep and lasting ways. Whether or not they have shown any of it yet, their heart is moving toward a moment where silence can no longer be kept. The more they try to create distance, the more clearly your absence shows itself. This has created a real inner conflict, where one part wants to stay protected behind walls, while another part cannot stop thinking about what reaching out would feel like. They imagine different situations in their mind. They think about what they would say, how you might answer, and whether it is already too late. Those questions keep turning endlessly in their thoughts. What once felt easy to avoid now carries a growing sense of urgency. There are moments when they come very close to sending a message. The pressure inside builds until the silence almost breaks, but then fear stops them at the last moment. Fear has been their main protection for a long time, but it is gradually losing its hold. It is not happening suddenly, but slowly and steadily. Day by day, the emotional truth becomes heavier than the safety those old ways once offered. The part of them that worked so hard to stay separate is starting to break down. Underneath all the resistance, they already know the truth. No one else has touched them the way you have. No one else brought that exact mix of emotional depth, recognition, and the feeling of being fully understood. That knowledge has changed everything for them. What once felt unsure now feels extremely important. What they once avoided now feels very hard to escape. What they once questioned is becoming clearer with every new day. Clarity brings movement. The emotional growth this needs does not always happen in neat, visible steps. You might feel like the next step is close, and they are about to reach out or take action. There are still fears to face, old habits to notice, and truths to accept. But something basic has already changed. They are no longer standing outside this feeling, deciding whether to join. They are inside it now, and they feel it completely. Once someone reaches that point, silence becomes much harder to keep. Both of you have grown through this. The old imbalance cannot continue the same way. Something more honest is trying to come forward. All the silence, all the thinking, and all the inner pressure that has been building has created a situation where something must move. Real emotional truth cannot stay held down forever before it finds a way to show itself. Something inside them has reached a point where holding everything inside is no longer possible. The silence that once felt like a safe choice has started to work against them. The distance they created to feel safer now feels lonelier than honesty ever would. This is the final stage before real change comes. For a long time, they believed avoidance would let the connection fade away naturally. They thought that staying guarded long enough would make the feelings lose power by themselves. But every try to disconnect has only shown them how deeply this bond is rooted. They are now standing directly in front of something they cannot easily leave behind. You change them in a way that lasts forever. Once someone realizes that another person has permanently shifted how they experience love and closeness, they cannot simply go back to who they were before you. This has started a true awakening in them. They are beginning to see that the peace they were chasing would never come from running away. It was only ever going to come from being honest about what they feel, which is something they have resisted for a long time. There are moments now when they feel very close to reaching out. This is a truth to remember whenever you feel like you are still on their mind. The inner pressure grows so strong that silence nearly opens itself.